Hello everyone, my name is Mason. Now, I haven't made a video in quite a while, as I'm sure many people are aware. However, I've been a bit bored recently, and obviously I've been playing a lot of Dungeon Defenders with the people in my group chat. So I figured that I would make some survival videos, because everybody needs to farm gear, or maybe you want to farm, let's say, pets or builder weapons. In my case, that's what I'm doing, hence the video. So, this is obviously a build for Infested Ruins, and it's a very simple map. It's very quick, maybe a little bit too quick, depending if you want to tab out and do other stuff like I try to do. So, anyway, what you're going to want to do is boot up your Infested Ruins, obviously hardcore, and survival mode. Now, if you have just beat the map and you don't have wave 22, which is the wave you're meant to start at, the build, you will have enough mana to start at wave 8, however, if not, you just start at wave 22 and you can get right into the build. Okay, so the build we're going to use for Infested, you're going to place one ensnare here, and then one strength drain on top, and then come over here to the left core, and you're going to do the same thing, one ensnare, one strength drain. That's it, that's the only monk towers that you're going to use for this map. So then you're going to go on to your Evie. Now I am using the UKD file where it stops at 4 for that brief little second. Doesn't particularly add much, just thought I would mention that. So you're going to place a 4 buff beam just behind these two little goblets, and then a 1DU beam in front of that, in front of the goblets that is. And that's it for Evie. Then we're going to go on to traps. The only trap you're going to use is Darkness Trap, which is probably, you know, if you've done survivals, it's probably typical. So I like to place it here, in between this staircase and this gap, because most people place it here. I have had it be despawned by Djinns, that's why I've decided to move it. And from my experience, it never gets despawned there, at least from all the testing I've done before recording this. So, next one, you're going to come up here, on the bottom left of the map. You're going to place one Darkness Trap here, and then just go over here to the top left of the map for your third Darkness Trap, and that's it. Those are the only traps we're going to use. You will need to upgrade the traps progressively throughout the run, or repair them, whichever you decide to do, because they won't last. I'd say about probably 80 charges, that is. Should be all you need, but keep an eye on them. So next up, we are going to go on the Hermit. Now we're going to come over to the 4 buff beam here. Now, I do have the stacking macro. I am going to assume anyone doing the builds or survival builds also has that stacking macro. If you don't, just go into the RNG Discord, ask them for the macro, someone will send it to you. So we're going to place a mushroom on the end of the buff beam, and then the golem can be placed over the top of hermit towers. You don't need to stack, you don't need to get good placement, so you just place it on top of the mushroom, and that's it. Then you're going to go up these stairs by the auras, over here, and you're going to place a 2DU web wall, just like that. Tiny bit off the side so it goes through the middle for any ogres or anything that decides to walk over there, because remember, it does slow them, and it's the exact same debuff as spider, so we don't have to place a spider. And then you're going to come back over here and do a 2DU one there, and that's it. Now you see that I'm at 49 DU. That is the DU for every other tower, and the only remaining towers for DU is going to be the lightning towers. So we're going to place one lightning tower, and obviously, like I said, I'm using the stacking macro, so I can just spam these. So what I do is I come over to the chest, and then fill up the entire DU with those, and that's the build. It's very quick, very simple. I wouldn't say the stats required are too high for this. If you are trying to sort of cope on low stats, I'm gonna have a little section a bit later in this video for a lower stat build that I've made. So after you've done the build, you want to swap to your AFK summoner. Now remember, Monk Guardian, Huntress Guardian, those are the important ones. So we're just going to bring this guy over here. And then the Upgrade Apprentice, you're going to jump on the lightning towers, just like this. Just aim that just a bit over that little honeycomb. And then if you want, swap back to your summoner and have a see where that's landing. As you can see, it's right on the spawn. That's perfect. That's exactly what we need. So, just upgrade this beam to max, because obviously that's the most important. And the upgrade aura that the Adept has no priority. It will just upgrade what it can. So we're going to upgrade that to max. Jump up here. Give the mana to my Adept. Swap back to the Adept. Activate the aura. And that's it. Now we can start the wave. Now this is the really important. When you start the wave, as I'm about to do, you need to run over to the auras and have the Guardian that does the range buff to buff it. So that when they get buffed, they go onto this buff beam and they are buffed. And if you want to check if they're buffed and you ran over them, just walk back here, and as you can see, they are definitely buffed. Now, if you do not buff them, or maybe you don't have a Guardian on to buff them, you will fail. I have tried this, or I've gone on to my summoner that doesn't have the Guardians on it. You will fail. So, yeah, there you go. There's the build. Nice and simple, and hope it works for you. Alright, so this is the low stat build. This is like my 4th attempt recording this because Steam keeps kicking me. Now, I did test this in low stats, and it does work, which I'll show on screen. So, not too much changed. Obviously, the auras are in the same spot. There are a few towers we've removed in favour of a bit of stalling to sort of help with the lower stats. And I was quite happy with how it worked and how it felt. So you're going to place the 2 auras there. They stay the same. I did test that they were able to get boosted, which was very nice. And then a 4D buff beam again. Now, that's for the traps, because I would say this is what changed the most other than adding minions. So we're going to have a gas trap here, and we are not having the darkness trap there. So, we're going to place that, and then these other 2 darkness traps from the previous build do stay the same. So we're going to place those. And then, instead of a web wall here, we have a gas trap. Which is very nice. And then, we will go back onto the Hermit. Now, both the web walls are gone. They aren't needed for this low stat build instead, which is quite nice. So we're still going to opt for the Mushroom and the Golem. That part hasn't changed. And then we are going to go back onto the trusty Apprentice. Now, line these up with your macro and then point this arrow to sort of the bottom right. That's just for getting aggro of ogres. And then sort of top left-ish for the other one. And same thing, just for getting aggro. And then we are going to place some lightning towers. And there we go. Now, as you can see, not really too much has changed. At least for that part. Obviously, we have minions in the build, but that regular part, not much has actually changed. Now, as for the minions, since if you just tried this with the stats I tried this with, it wouldn't work. There's 0 chance of this working. You will fail. So, what we're going to do, zoom out a little bit. So, we are actually going to place ogres. This side is going to have 4 ogres. And then we're going to place another 2 ogres just over here. I did try this originally with archers, which absolutely did not work. At least over here, I'd had archers up here and some mages down the bottom. They kept getting destroyed. So instead, I moved it down here. And I was much happier with what I ended up with. So we're just going to place 1 ogre about here. And then I will need to quickly grab some more mana to finish placing minions. Now, I did think about placing minions sort of near the, about here-ish, or a bit further up. And I never really needed to. Same goes for that, this core over here. I did think about placing them here, because the core did get hit by a random goblin. And I decided not to do it. I don't think it's needed, because I did this with what I would consider very low stats, since gear is so easy to get at this version of the game. Now, we're going to place 2 spiders behind these ogres. And obviously, a mage on both of them. And then we're going to come over here. We're going to place that next ogre next to this one. And because of the high health pool and obviously low stats, I feel like these ogres actually perform very well. I'm very happy with how they perform. And then we're going to place 1 mage minion, and I'm just going to, for the sake of simplicity, I'm just going to stack a mage minion on top. You can place it next to it. It really doesn't matter. It doesn't add or change anything. And because I've got a little bit of minion limit left, I'm just going to place an extra mage over here. Because at the end of the wave, you'll get a lot of ogres that will come up here. Nothing will happen. The ogres themselves are fine. But they'll be there for a little while. You know, the DST will kill them, the lightning towers, etc. will kill them. And yeah, that's the build. Essentially, it's just added a... Oh, I'm stuck again. This happens. If this happens, just type kill me. This did happen a couple of times to me while I was testing the map to wave 35. Bit annoying, but I mean, it's not the end of the world, or at least I don't think it is. So, once again, this part here is actually the same as the other build. You're going to come over here on your AFK Summoner, the character you should play on. I recommend doing it as, rather than playing on the upgraded deck in case you misplace or you accidentally move your mouse, which I've done a few times. Now we're just going to aim that in the spot we want it at, aim it a bit higher. That should be good. Let's just, as before, double check that. That's the perfect spot. We want it straight into that spawn. Now, once again, we are going to upgrade the beam. Grab a little bit of mana to finish the beam off, that is. And then this part is also the same as before. Give the mana, shoot, activate your upgrade aura, go back to your character, and then when the wave starts, same as before, boost these so they get buffed over there. This does work with low range, as I tested. We just want over here and do both of those. And then if you want to test if they worked, just come back here. And obviously they won't be this big since I've put my gear back on after testing it. And it still works. They're a bit smaller. The diminishing returns of range on traps and auras is actually quite high. So I'm sure I have larger auras, but it really doesn't matter. And yeah, that's the low stat build. Odds are you won't even need to do the low stat build and you can just hop straight into the other one. But as always, if you enjoyed the video, consider a like, subscribe, whatever you choose. Thanks for watching, and I will see everyone in another video.